Guys, all right. This is day 16 of my small account challenge. I didn't trade last week at all. I just made watch lists and just worked on my quality of my watch lists. I built one for Sunday night, but it didn't have any follow through for Monday. Mondays are pretty busy for me at work anyways, so I just kind of watched the market. That was the day we had Sunday night was the day we had the big news announcement on the NJ sector, so it was nice to see some gap up Monday morning. We saw some moves. I sold off my EMH position. Finally had it back up to close to break even, so I just sold it for a small loss. I think it was like $37 or something like that. So actually back in EMH today. I got in at 123, so I sold at one. I was originally in at 131 with 930 shares. I sold those at 128. I just bought back in today for 900 shares. I had an order for 950, but I didn't get the 50 filled, so I bought 900 shares at 123. And I'll be happy with a move. I got an order in to sell them at 128. It's only a $50 profit, but you know what? I'll take it because I just want to practice getting better at getting in and out of trades, sticking to my guns, managing my risk, and controlling my emotions. So today I took a little trade. Me and Jordan Lutz made a watch list last night. We had a bunch of stuff on our watch list. We had IDXG, DFFN, AKER for possible SSH for possible ZSAN, PSIX, and then this morning I found INNL. So DFFN, this was on our watch because yesterday it moved towards, well, I had a big move yesterday. You can see 262 up to 476, and it sold off. Then it did a nice little curl up in the end of day, broke that previous high of day. It actually had a nice little bump here after it got out of the gully, popped up, consolidated for a minute, sold off a little bit, and popped up again, and then closed in the end of day. And after I was at 538, so we scanned the after hours, we found it. When I looked at pre-market this morning, it had already started selling off from the highs, and it didn't do much for the rest of the day. So I left that one alone. I had that one up right away watching it. As soon as I saw this big start to sell off, I was just done, I think. Let's see. Actually, I was done at the pre-market sell-off. Obviously, there could be a possible red to green and a curl back up to pre-market highs, but it wasn't worth it. So IDXG has been a former runner. It's always on my watch list. I believe I made a trade on it a month or two ago. So here's what we had. Pretty much flat lines, and then end of day, nice little spike, comes in, spikes up into after hours, sells off a little bit, comes into pre-market, pops up a little in the morning, goes nice and flat, and then these big gap down sell-offs into pre-market. I had this open on a separate chart, just keeping an eye on it on watch as an active watch, and it kind of sold off and consolidated here and then messed around. So right away I wasn't interested in it. It did, however, have this crazy spike, 1048, short covering. I don't know what it was, but it just launched up from 260 to 312. I mean, there's no way to get into this trade unless you were in it already. I guess you could maybe have taken a position here, but this wouldn't have alerted you, this little spike. There's no high a day spike here or anything, right? The high a day is 285. So anything over 285 would have came up on any of the trader scanners. So I mean, look, we're already halfway there. These are 1 minute candles. So if this came up, you would have seen it here. You might have gotten in here on this little pullback right here on this candle. Little tiny pullback. Just under the whole dollar, well, just under 90 cents. So, and then it spikes up to 312 and then sells off right away. So this would have been a major bull trap. And yeah, you would have just gotten faked out on a breakout, and you would have been done. You would have stopped out, hopefully, if you were smart, and you wouldn't have had too big of losses. Anyways, then it carried on through the end of the day, just kind of pop, 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 and then they released earnings after hours. I believe they were positive. I haven't looked into them yet, and here we are after hours, and we are just climbing the ladder, grinding up along this 9 moving average, and we're sitting just under the $3.50 mark here at 345. So definitely going to be on my watch for tonight. I'm going to, after hours is closed, so this will be on my watch. Pretty easy. I'll just transfer to the next page. Supports and resistance will be different. We'll be looking at resistance at 350, obviously. See what pre-market does. Support, however, is going to be a little hard to judge. I'll probably have to jump over to a bigger chart and maybe see if I can find some support nearby. This made a move 5 days ago and it flew right up into this 50 EMA, 50 moving average, and came right down. So we've got a gap back here, which we could possibly see gap fill up to $4.26, 29 cents. So we're already sitting at 345, which is also the 50 EMA. So it'll be interesting to see what this stock does first thing in the morning. So I'll leave that alone for now, and we'll have a look at the stock I traded today. So INNL. Here we go. So former runner, it's got a big gap here. It's gap filled already, popped up, came down, and then we got in on today. On the 1 minute. So here we go. So this was not on my after hours scanner. This popped up on pre-market. So pre-market shot right up. Close this up. Pre-market shot right up from $1 all the way up to $1.58. Sold off, came up. I was watching it. I think I started seeing it right around here, and I thought, okay, if it comes up and it breaks this pre-market high, then we'll be in play right out of the gates. Instead, it's sold off a little bit, but I just kind of watched it. The volume was here, and I watched these first 3 minute candles. I had this chart up and IDXG and ZSAN I was watching all at the same time. And I saw this little volume pop come in, and I pushed up, and then on the next one, pulled down a little bit, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get long at 150, and if it breaks 150, we should be in some sort of play, because we've got a top here at 157. I thought if it breaks 150, maybe we'll get the volume, we'll push right through it. So sure enough, got in at 150, just with 250 shares, nothing big, just small size. Still just working on confidence, getting in and out of trades, managing my risk. And then we got a nice little volume push here on this next candle. It pushed up to 160. It started pulling back. I just held tight. I said, okay, you know what? You're in the trade. Let it run. If it pulls back down, we'll bail out at 145 or 140, anywhere in there. I would have jumped out on, just because that was this area here. 145, I'd seen a bit of hesitation in. So, and then I had a little mishap. I put a sell in 160 on this candle. Maybe it was on this candle. I can't remember. Guys, I put a sell in at 160 and it didn't go. So I canceled my order really quick, and I switched Questrade over to follow the bid, and it pushed back up, pushed up to $1.66, and then I saw it starting to pull back, and I hit the bid right there, and I jumped out at 162. So I saw this little bit of a pullback, jumped out at 162, and then here we go. Next candle, we pulled right down, pulled all the way down to 143, came right back up to 164, and then sold off, and then that was it. So I mean, you know, I timed that trade perfectly. In my eyes, it wasn't a huge move. If I'd taken more size, I would have made more money, of course, but you know, I didn't get in down here because you have no bottom to base off of. There's no support levels here. I guess you could go off of, you know, 127 where this candle ended, but that's a pretty false support. You could go off a moving average, but I wanted something a little better, so that's why I took the 150 top as resistance, and I just, you know, 10 cents under, 145 to 10 cents under for a stop loss. So risk versus reward, I was willing to risk 10 cents to make 20. I risked 10 cents to make 12 cents. So, you know, obviously it would have been a little bit nicer. Sure, I wish I could have gotten out of 166. I wish this could have pushed up higher, but it didn't do that. You never know how high a stock's going to go. I jumped out. I took a $30 profit. $9.90 was commission, so $20.10 total profit. You know, I'm happy. It was nice to get a green trade after coming back into it. Here's my trade down here. In 250 at $1.50. Out at 162, you know, just under 2 minutes per trade. So it's always nice to have a green trade. Feels good, but don't lose sight of what's important, and that's managing your risk. Don't sacrifice it. And this is what it did for the rest of the day. Didn't do anything. I mean, this would have been a great short here. I considered, jumping on the short side and running it down. But after a stock spikes up like that, I'm a little weary to jump in for a short again here in case it decides to do some sort of red to green squeeze and move out. And we had, on the day, we had 9.7 million shares were traded. So I can't remember what the float is on this thing, but it's a form of running because of these big moves here and this gap down. So yeah, that's what I got. So hopefully we'll build a nice watch list tonight, and tomorrow we can get another trade in. I'd like to get 2 trades in. I'd like to do one long and one short every day. That would be a good practice moving forward. So, all right, guys. Tomorrow I will cover the MJ sector a little more on my video, and hopefully talk about another green trade. So that's all I got for now. You can see I'm up 948. I was 928 to start the day. Okay, bye.